explain my recent bug in which I have leaked all the users data that is present on that application, right? So that application was a staging application actually. We were only provided the beta version, so there were it was not actually the real users, but it was like a staging environment, so we cannot test the security on the production environment. So that is why they have given us a staging environment, right? So actually this is a GraphQL API related vulnerability. So in GraphQL there is something called introspection schema, introspection query, through which we can dump the whole schema of GraphQL API. It is like REST API documentation, right? So on my screen right now, this is Altair GraphQL client, and through this client, it is just like Burp Suite, not exactly like Burp Suite, but here you can play with requests and responses, but especially only for GraphQL, right? So it's a proxy software. It's not actually Burp Suite, but here you can add a request here, and you will get the response here, right? So this is the target which I'm testing, and I will hide the host name here when I will edit this video. Now what we will do is that I will paste this query here, right? This is also part of introspection query, right? So this is like I'm enumerating schema, and I'm enumerating all the possible queries, right? And I'm enumerating the fields, the name of those fields, and the description, right? So this is the target, and if you will send this request, then we are getting an error, right? It says invalid JWT. So yeah, I have actually the authorization token already present here, and this authorization token, and set the headers, right? And we have to set these headers. You can get this access token by logging into the application, right? That's easy. Let's send the request, and it is saying malformed authorization header, right? So let me check, just a minute. Let's copy this value once again, save and send request. It is still saying malformed authorization header, authorization. Okay, so we have to copy this value, not this value. This is a little mistake. So add this value here, save and send request. And as you can see here, so we are getting all the queries, right? So this is a query, this is a query, and query is just like a REST API endpoint, right? This is GraphQL API, this is not REST API, but it is like an endpoint, right? If you will hit this query, you will get some data, right? There was this query name here called auth user something, right? Auth, yeah, there is this query, auth user. This was the query that I'm interested in, right? So it fetches the data from the table auth user. So I was like, okay, we have this query, and I can, I can go to add new window. I cannot show you my other windows right now, but add new window, and target is already set. Save, and let's make this query, right? So this is auth user, and maybe it have some arguments here, as if you know the structure of GraphQL request. And let's hit this request, right? And it says not a valid GraphQL query. So I was like, okay, this is good because as per the GraphQL schema, auth user is there, right? So I was like, okay, now this is a blog from asset node exploiting GraphQL. If you will go to their introspection section, then you can copy this whole GraphQL introspection query, right? And copy this whole GraphQL introspection query and paste it here, right? If you will paste it here and hit Control Enter, send this request, and this is way big, right? This is way big. And now if I will go to this section of auth user, then you will see that it's a query, and there are actually if so this is little harder, right? This is not that easy to see here or visualize here, right? So what I did instead here is that I made my own query here, through which I was getting. I'll show you just. So this is like my own because this query is very heavy, right? So to get the visualization properly, you can go to GraphQL Voyager and add it there. Your dump, paste the whole schema here, and there you can see it properly, right? But I was like, okay, let's see it here in the text, right? Because that is also uh, one thing, right? So I made a query like this, that I will get field name, description, and I want arguments as well, right? So this is what I have added here, arguments field, and there is this input value fragment here, right? So now I will get the arguments as well in the response. You'll see here then there is a distinct on argument, and it selects the columns directly of the table. That is interesting, right? So this is the argument name, distinct on. So I have selected this argument name, and we will paste this here, and let's see if let's add a string, right? And if you add a string, then it is giving us a message, and this is where I play tricks in GraphQL, right? Because with these error messages, I can detect that what is wrong with the API, right? So if you'll see here, then you will see that it expects an enum value, right? So I was like, okay, so let's try this, and let's add something like name or maybe some random value, right? And this is where it got more better, because now I have expected one of the values. So I added id, right? So we are selecting the whole table using this column id, and what I did is that I have added these fields, these values here in the fields, right, in the query fields. So I was like id, and I will hide this data that we will get in the response, because this is private program, real program. So I will hide everything that you are seeing on the screen. Not everything, like the sensitive details I will hide, right? So if we'll send this request, then there we go, right? So there is no authorization check here if this query can be made by admin user or by a normal user. And see here we have all the users. I think this is helpful for some people, and this is how you should go with the introspection. You can get the introspection from here. Presentation of mine. This presentation is uploaded already on my Twitter, twitter.com/encodedguy. I will add this Twitter link in my description, YouTube description. So you can get this to find the queries. You can use this to find the mutations. You can use this, right? I'll add this. So GraphQL error messages are way fancy and way leaky, right? So that's all from my side. Thank you, everyone.